Hello and welcome to Glow with K-Beauty, your weekly escape into the glowing, radiant world of Korean skincare. I'm your host, Leslie, a Korean-American skincare enthusiast, and I'm so excited to finally launch this space where beauty meets culture, science meets simplicity, and skin meets soul. This podcast will be split into two parts. Part 1 will focus on regularly updated episodes of the podcast, while Part 2 will feature a conversation between two freelance reporters. Whether you've just stumbled into the world of K-Beauty through TikTok, or you've been layering toners since before glass skin was a thing, this podcast is for you. You're probably wondering, what makes Korean skincare so special? Why is it that Korean beauty routines are going viral across Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and every influencer feed? Well, we're about to unpack that. Each week on Glow with K-Beauty, we'll explore not just what products work, but why they work. From iconic ingredients like snail mucin and Centella asiatica to the gentle philosophies behind double cleansing and essence layering, we'll walk through it all, ingredient by ingredient, routine by routine, myth by myth. We'll also dive into cultural perspectives. Why are Korean beauty trends so different from the West? Why is prevention prioritized over correction? And what can American consumers learn from the holistic approach that defines K-beauty? Now, let me tell you what this podcast is not. It's not sponsored hype. It's not just about what's trending. This is a place for honest reviews, ingredient breakdowns, real results, and a few skincare fails along the way too. We'll cover product deep dives. Is COSRX's snail mucin really worth the hype? Routine building. How to create a beginner-friendly 5-step routine. Ingredient guides. What does fermented rice extract even do? Budget-friendly K-beauty for students or skincare on a dime. And interviews with dermatologists, estheticians, and beauty influencers from Korea and abroad. Here's what I want you to know. I'm not a dermatologist. I'm a passionate learner, just like many of you. And I've spent years testing and researching skincare the way some people obsess over fantasy football. I've been that person with sensitive skin, dry patches, oily T-zones, hormonal acne, you name it. I've cried in front of the mirror and danced after discovering the One serum. So if you're looking for someone to talk to you like a friend, this is that space. So what can you expect next? In our next episode, we'll talk about the 5 K-beauty products that changed my skin forever. And none of them are over $25. Every episode will be packed with practical tips, science-backed explanations, and a little sparkle of K-drama inspiration. And whether you're doing your nighttime routine or stuck in traffic, you'll leave with something you can actually use. So go ahead, subscribe, follow, and share. Help me grow this community of glowing skin, confidence, and curiosity. This is Glow with K-Beauty, where every episode brings you closer to your skin goals and hopefully closer to yourself. See you next week, and until then, keep glowing.
Hey, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are plunging into an ingredient that's stirred up just a massive amount of buzz in skincare.
Oh, yeah. Snail mucin.
Snail mucin, yeah, the slime. It's absolutely everywhere now. And you see some really bold claims sometimes, kind of wild ones.
It definitely grabs your attention, doesn't it? I mean, partly just because of where it comes from.
Totally.
That visual alone, it's pretty powerful for marketing, I think. But, there's also some genuinely intriguing science starting to happen behind it all.
Exactly. So we've pulled together quite a stack of sources on this, everything from peer-reviewed papers to, articles breaking down the science, including analysis from experts, dermatologists like Dr. Dre, for instance.
Yes, good sources.
Yeah. And our mission today really is to cut through all that noise, look at what the proven benefits actually are, and help you figure out, what using snail mucin might really mean for your skin.
All right, let's get into it then.
First things first. What is this stuff? Like, fundamentally, what is snail mucin?
Okay, so at its core, mucin is basically a class of compounds. Think proteins, but with sugars attached.
Okay.
And animals produce it in their mucus glands. It's essentially a protective layer.
Protective how?
For delicate surfaces, particularly epithelial tissues. Shielding them from damage, could be physical harm, could be microbes, that sort of thing.
And snails just make a lot of it.
They really do. Snails produce very large quantities. So this mucin is harvested, and then scientists identify the specific compounds within it.
Okay.
And that identification process, that's really what sparked the interest in its potential for various biomedical applications, which I think we'll get into later.
Right, which definitely brings us to the first and probably the most established benefit, at least in skincare. Hydration. This is the big one, isn't it?
Absolutely. If there's one thing the evidence clearly supports, it's that snail mucin is a powerful hydrator. It's just packed with humectants,
Okay.
various peptides, and it even naturally contains hyaluronic acid.
Wow, okay. So how does that actually, make your skin feel more hydrated? What's the mechanism?
Well, think of those components working together. They basically improve your skin's ability to hold on to water.
Right.
And this is particularly effective in the stratum corneum, that very top layer of skin.
Okay.
So better water retention means a healthier skin barrier. And that, in turn, helps reduce irritation, helps fight dryness.
Makes sense.
Plus, there's another thing. When your skin's well hydrated, it actually helps its natural renewal process. The enzymes that help with healthy skin barrier turnover, they need water to work properly.
Interesting. And the texture, it's definitely memorable.
Oh, yeah. Slimy, slippery.
Yeah.
It really is. But that texture, while maybe not everyone's cup of tea, is actually part of its function. It creates this thin, kind of film-like layer on the skin.
Okay, like a coating.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It envelops the skin's surface, and that helps reduce what we call transepidermal water, lost water evaporating out. But it does it without feeling heavy or, greasy.
Yeah.
It still lets your skin breathe, lets sweat evaporate.
Yeah.
And yeah, that unique feel, maybe the visual too, can be part of the appeal for some people. And it definitely helps with marketing.
But you mentioned other ingredients before that do similar things. How does it really stack up?
Right. Yeah, it's important to keep that perspective. You can get fantastic hydration from many readily available ingredients, often less expensive too.
Like what?
Well, hyaluronic acid, obviously,
Mhm.
glycerin, various peptides. These are all excellent humectants.
Mm-hmm.
We also hear about things like polyglutamic acid now, which also has that very similar kind of slippery consistency
Yeah.
that creates that sort of cloaking film, reduces water loss without being heavy.
So is there actual evidence that snail mucin is somehow better than these other, well-known hydrators?
That's really where it gets a bit murky. Studies often show that snail mucin products improve hydration compared to a control vehicle.
Meaning compared to the base cream without the snail stuff.
Exactly. So it clearly does something positive. But really rigorous head-to-head comparisons that definitively prove it's superior to, say, pure HA or glycerin at similar levels, those are pretty limited.
Right.
The unique origin, the sort of ick factor maybe, definitely adds to its intrigue and marketability. But objectively saying it's the best hydrator,
Mm-hmm.
the research doesn't fully support that claim
Yeah.
yet, anyway.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit then. You mentioned biomedical applications earlier, and wound healing often comes up. Now, most of us aren't putting skincare on like an open wound.
Right.
But what does that research suggest for maybe skin recovery or even anti-aging?
This is where some of the really fascinating science is, but also where context is absolutely crucial. You're right. You're typically not treating a literal wound on your face day to day, but the properties that do aid wound healing, things like encouraging regeneration, supporting barrier function, they could potentially have implications for improving overall skin health, maybe smoothing texture, helping skin recover from irritation, or, say, after certain procedures.
And the sources point to some specific medical areas where this is being looked at.
Exactly. One big area is antibacterial properties. Now, this is specific mucin from certain snail species has compounds that can fight bacteria.
Okay. Why is that important for wounds?
Well, open wounds are really susceptible to getting colonized by bacteria, things like staph or E. coli.
Right.
And that bacteria causes inflammation, slows down healing. So finding natural compounds with antibacterial effects is a pretty big deal in medical research, especially with concerns about antibiotic resistance.
Sure.
There's even a compound called cashin found in some species mucin that's shown promise in labs against both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria.
Okay, that sounds scientifically really interesting, but for someone just dealing with like a regular breakout, does that mean snail mucin is an acne treatment?
And that's the crucial distinction. No, this research, while it's promising in a very specific medical context, like treating infected wounds, it has not translated into solid evidence that just applying snail mucin to your face helps treat acne. Acne is way more complex, involves inflammation, other factors.
Got it.
And those potential antibacterial effects seen in labs or specific wound types, they aren't proven to work against acne-causing factors on your skin.
Okay. What about other medical uses being studied?
Well, it's also been looked at for treating something called acute radiation dermatitis.
What's that?
It's a really painful, kind of burn-like side effect that cancer patients can get during radiation therapy. Snail mucin has shown some promise in helping manage this.
Oh.
It's thought to be due to antioxidant components in the mucin. These antioxidants may be working through specific enzymes like superoxide dismutase. They seem to help fight the free radical damage caused by the radiation.
Interesting. And I think I saw something about it being studied for internal use, too.
Yes, that's right, specifically for gastric ulcers. Taken internally, mucin has shown some potential in promoting the healing of these ulcers, possibly by stimulating fibroblast proliferation, which is key for tissue repair.
Wow.
And it's also been looked at for helping recovery after cosmetic laser treatments, potentially reducing side effects like redness, burning, stinging.
So, okay, we've got this really exciting potential in wound healing, radiation burns, ulcers, laser recovery. I mean, it sounds like pretty powerful stuff.
It does.
But again, if I don't have those specific medical issues, how much of that really applies to me just using a snail serum every day?
That is the absolutely critical question you as a consumer need to ask.
Yeah.
While the biomedical research is fascinating, really exciting, vast majority of those studies are in very specific medical contexts or clinical procedures that, most people aren't dealing with day to day.
Right.
The findings for treating radiation dermatitis or gastric ulcers, while significant scientifically, they don't automatically mean that putting snail mucin serum on your face will give you the same kind of quote-unquote healing or regenerative boost for everyday concerns like, uneven texture or a bit of redness.
It's a leap.
It's a huge leap from a specific medical application to general skincare benefits. And that leap often lacks the rigorous research to back it up for the everyday user.
Okay. Let's move to another really common claim in skincare. Improving the appearance of wrinkles. Is there actual evidence for that?
There is one notable study mentioned that looked directly at this, Participants applied a snail mucin product daily around one eye for 12 weeks. And they applied a placebo product, like a base cream, around the other eye.
A split-face study, and what did they find?
They found a significant improvement in the appearance of wrinkles around the eye that got the snail mucin compared to the placebo side.
Interesting.
And what's also interesting is that improvement was sustained for 2 weeks after they stopped using the product. The study didn't look beyond that 2-week follow-up, though.
Okay, so it made wrinkles look better. But did the study show it actually changed the skin itself? Did it, build more collagen or anything like that?
And that is the key caveat. It's really important. The study only measured the visual appearance of the wrinkles. It did not measure any underlying changes in skin structure. Didn't look at collagen, didn't look at elastin, didn't measure skin thickness.
So the effect could just be...
It's highly plausible, even likely, that the effect was primarily due to that powerful hydration we talked about earlier, the plumping effect.
Right.
Well-hydrated skin just looks smoother. Fine lines and wrinkles are temporarily less visible simply because the skin surface is plumped up with moisture. It doesn't mean it fundamentally reversed aging or changed the skin's structure.
Got it. Now, this next potential benefit sounds even more specific and probably needs a big asterisk next to it. Anti-tumor potential.
Yes, this is a finding that has come out of some research. It suggests that certain compounds within snail mucin might have an anti-tumor effect. Specifically, this was observed in studies on melanoma cells.
Okay. And where were those studies done? In people?
No, absolutely not. Crucially, this research was done using cells in a dish, in vitro.
Right. That is incredibly important content.
Hugely important.
So, let's be crystal clear. Putting snail mucin on your skin does not protect you from skin cancer.
Absolutely. Unequivocally not. A finding in cells in a lab dish has, frankly, zero relevance to a consumer applying a product to their skin, hoping for sun protection or cancer prevention.
Okay.
The best, most proven way to protect yourself from skin cancer is, and always will be, sun protection. Wear sunscreen consistently, seek shade, avoid tanning beds, period.
Right.
While that basic research in the dish is interesting from a scientific viewpoint, maybe for future drug development down the line, it is absolutely not a benefit you get from using snail mucin skincare today.
Okay, point taken. Another potential application mentioned was more in pharmacology, using it for drug delivery.
Right. Yeah, snail mucin is being explored as a potentially promising vehicle, like a carrier, to improve how drugs are delivered, both for topicals applied to the skin and potentially for meds taken orally.
Why would it be good for that?
Well, it seems particularly interesting for drugs that need to be absorbed through mucosal tissues, like inside your mouth or your digestive tract. Because snail mucin is so hydrophilic it loves water. It might enhance how well a medication diffuses into those moist mucosal surfaces, which could potentially improve absorption and how effective the drug is.
Fascinating. Okay, so we've run through the science, from the definite hydration benefits to some pretty cutting-edge, but often not really skincare relevant research. Now, let's tackle those social media claims head-on. Based on everything we've discussed, the sources, what should you really be skeptical about? What is snail mucin not for, despite what TikTok might tell you?
Okay, good question. First, let's just quickly recap what it is good for. Based on the evidence, it's a safe ingredient. It does deliver on hydration.
Right.
And that hydration can lead to smoother-looking skin, improve the appearance of things like fine lines, maybe even pores, just through that plumping effect.
Okay.
It generally plays well with other ingredients too, although theoretically, because it might enhance penetration slightly, there's a small chance it could increase irritation if you're layering it with really potent actives like strong retinoids or acids.
Possible. Okay.
And honestly, many people just subjectively love how their skin feels when they use it. More supple, smoother, definitely more hydrated. That personal experience is valid too.
But you're not missing out
Yep.
if it's just not your thing, right? Or if you find the texture weird?
Absolutely not. We really can't stress this enough. There are so many other incredibly effective, extensively researched hydrating ingredients available.
Right.
Hyaluronic acid, glycerin, peptides, polyglutamic acid, ceramides.
Yeah.
The list just goes on and on.
Right.
If you don't like the texture of snail mucin, or you're vegan, or you're just not interested, you have plenty of fantastic alternatives. You are not missing out on some unique miracle.
Okay, let's bust some specific myths then. Is it an acne treatment?
No. Flat out no. While moisturizing is important for acne-prone skin, often because acne treatments themselves can be drying or the skin barrier might be compromised,
Sure.
and maybe the lightweight feel of snail mucin is nice for oily or acne-prone skin types, the ingredient itself is not a proven treatment for acne.
Despite the potential antibacterial stuff we talked about.
Right. Despite those potential anti-inflammatory or antibacterial effects seen in those other very specific contexts, there's just no established research showing it directly treats acne itself.
Okay. Myth busted. Next one. Will it make scars disappear? Old acne scars, for instance.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Snail mucin will not treat or remove an existing scar. That's just not how scar tissue works.
Right.
While, you could make a theoretical leap, maybe its anti-inflammatory properties could potentially help reduce scarring formation if you applied it to an active injury right away.
Big maybe.
Huge maybe, and totally unproven.
Yeah.
But it has zero ability to revise or get rid of a scar that's already formed and healed.
Got it. What about those marks left after a breakout? The post-inflammatory marks, red spots, dark spots, sometimes lighter spots.
Right. PIE, PIH, POH, post-inflammatory erythema, hyperpigmentation, hypopigmentation. First off, these are not true scars. They're temporary discolorations that very often resolve on their own, though it can take time. And while keeping the skin well hydrated with snail mucin, or any good hydrator, can certainly help support the skin barrier and maybe reduce further irritation, snail mucin itself is not established as a treatment to reverse these marks or directly address the hyperpigmentation. There's no evidence it contains compounds that significantly inhibit melanin production or spread in a way that would treat PIH, for example.
Okay, but sometimes people do say their skin looks brighter or more even-toned when they use it.
And that brings us right back to the hydration effect we discussed.
Ah, okay.
Any really good hydrator snail mucin, hyaluronic acid, glycerin, whatever, can subtly improve the appearance of minor discolorations and make your overall skin tone look a bit more luminous.
How?
It's basically about light scattering. Plump, well-hydrated skin reflects light more evenly, so your complexion looks a little brighter, a little smoother.
But it's temporary.
Exactly. It's a temporary superficial effect, totally dependent on keeping the skin hydrated. It's not actually treating the underlying cause of the mark. It's just making the skin look better through hydration.
Right. That makes sense. Just briefly, the source material, it mentions some personal experience with using snail products.
Yes. The expert source we drew from, Dr. Dre, noted her own subjective experience using specific snail mucin products. I think she mentioned the COSRX brand as one example.
And what did she find?
She personally observed, subjectively, a noticeable improvement in her skin's suppleness, smoothness, and hydration levels.
Okay.
And there was also a mention of her having reviewed various products, which suggests that for many users, the benefits they feel they see do align pretty well with those core proven benefits. hydration and improved texture.
Okay, good context. So let's try and bring this deep dive to a close. What should you really take away from our whole exploration of snail mucin today?
I think the key takeaways are, first, that snail mucin isn't just pure marketing hype. There is genuine scientific evidence supporting its value. Primarily, that value lies in its excellent ability to hydrate the skin. And through that hydration, it can definitely improve the appearance of things like fine lines and just overall skin texture, making it look smoother and plumper.
And the other stuff.
And then there's that really exciting potential being explored in those biomedical and early research areas, like wound healing, drug delivery. But again, much of that is still very early days and often not directly relevant to everyday cosmetic use yet.
But it's definitely not some kind of miracle ingredient that replaces everything else in your routine.
Absolutely not. There are many, many other equally effective, sometimes even more researched ingredients out there for hydration and supporting your skin barrier.
All right.
So it's really crucial to apply some critical thinking to the more exaggerated claims you might see, especially scrolling through social media. Claims about treating active acne, removing old scars, reversing hyperpigmentation.
Stick to the science.
Exactly. Stick to the science.
Yeah.
It's great for hydration, and that hydration can improve the appearance of the skin.
Okay, so here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to sort of chew on after this deep dive. We talked about that incredible deep-level scientific potential being explored for snail mucin, right?
The wound healing, the drug delivery, even those cellular effects in labs.
Yeah. How do you think that more complex, almost scientific marvel aspect of its study, how does that influence the perception, the hype around its more straightforward and maybe less unique benefits for just everyday skin hydration?
That's a great question.
Does the inherently cool factor, or maybe the slightly weird origin story, combine with that biomedical potential? Does that disproportionately drive its appeal compared to, say, good old glycerin?
Yeah. Does the story make the hydration seem more special?
Exactly. What really stands out to you the most from everything we've talked about today? Something to think about.